evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, the True Grit Show. We are in conversation with Professor Neel Training. For me personally, the gentleman that I'm going to be talking to today is an example of true grit in every sense of the word. I have been inspired. It's a funny thing that I'd have to say. I have never considered him just purely as a professor or a teacher. I've considered him as a mentor and as a guide, as an older brother, because we've done a lot of things together since we met in college towards the latter part of my college journey, and it was his start after having come out of his work in the industry and his studies at IHM. And so, what we're going to be talking with Professor Neelakantan today is his unique journey, his true grit journey. I met him, as I said, in 1989, but there's a story before that. So, first and foremost, a very warm welcome to you. Talk to us about your early childhood and education briefly so that we
Yeah,
can at least bring it to context.
but thank you, Rajat. Before that, I'm a little nervous because I've seen some great figures before. Meher Sarad, Manish Methani, Sujaya Mohan Walia. So I'm a little nervous. Where am I in that pantheon of legends? I mean, sort of thing.
You're a
But
legend,
anyway,
sir. You're a legend.
they grace my classrooms, except for Manish Methani. He never attended one. Anyway,
Yes.
so yes, life before life was difficult in those days because we were a Tam Ram family, and I never got the marks despite my efforts. In Ahmedabad, I was born in Ahmedabad from 1965. I was till 1986. When I did my schooling and my hotel management, and I moved out. But as a schoolboy, I had this terrible thing of being compared. And as I say, comparison kills more than competition. My elder two sisters were 70%, 80%. My first cousin in 1971 was a rock star. IIT Madras, IIM Calcutta. And then there was an assembly line of IIT IIMs. And I had no aptitude for IIT IIMs. And I was like a Sunil Gavaskar, but not, I didn't score runs like him. Only my result scorecard was like his batting average 57, 56. Consistent. I was very consistent. So there was this. So in a Tamran family, this typical thing in this weddings and the social occasion, they always point out the elders, they take a particular delight. Like if you answer something back to them, they'll say, how dare you answer? Whether if it's a correct one also, they'll say, what marks have you got? To say like something like this. So they never consider knowledge to be separate from academic marks. And that was why I differed from, I was a dissenter, right from childhood. I was spiritual. I was never ceremonious, this temple shipple. No. I was spiritual. Even in Delhi, I've been to Nizamuddin, I've been to Ajmer Dargah. I'm spiritual. I'll go to any place and there's spiritual. So that was it. So I differed with everybody. And then, to my father's dismay, I joined. I joined him. I could only join hotel management because in 10th standard I got 65%. So now that I got 65%, I want to do an encore maybe. And I remember that once in 8th standard, I aced in math and science, which is the typical Tam subjects. I said, Dad, here you are. I got 80. Now tell me. I said, I can get the marks I want, but I don't want to show off people. I would rather go to the British Library and read, go to the Corporation Library and read knowledge, because knowledge is permanent. Nobody can take you away from it. While marks are ephemeral, your ranks are ephemeral. They are there. You're number one day,
So
you're number two.
essentially, your entry into hotel management in Ahmedabad, was as a result of the fact that, as most of us had it, we were great when it came to knowledge, but marks, which was what was counted back as being critical in the Indian schooling system, where the average Sunil Gavaskar type 56, 57% steady, and so the way you
Average, yeah.
average. So the place that you felt that knowledge could meet your abilities perfectly well was at the Institute of Hotel Management in Ahmedabad. So that's your
I don't know.
foray into it
It
happened.
happened.
Yep. So here's a point which I wanted to bring for a conversation with you is because from the start of your career, and we've had a lot of conversations on it, you've been into different industries. And there has been one major fact behind it is that you've always been able to share your knowledge. See, you mentioned it. You were not a bookish guy. You were a knowledgeable person with a lot of insights. And you were able to help transfer that knowledge in order to train and get people ready. Tell us about the different stages of your acquisition of knowledge, more than the marks, and the fact that you were able to use that knowledge to prepare future members coming out of the institution such as IHM across India. And you had a major role to play in it. Describe that journey for us.
I am very, very thankful to God today that I did not get into IIT IIM. I did not become a CA, and I joined that small little infrastructure called the Institute of Hotel Management. I mean, we had an apology of infrastructure after I came from the St. Xavier's High School, Loyola Hall, with the almost 100, I mean, almost at 25 acres, 30 acres of campus, with a football field, a handball field, a court,
Hmm.
a basketball court, a library, a primary building, the typical the Jesuit thing.
Yeah.
Now here was this building, which was half the building vertically was used by the Technical Education Board. The hostel was on the third floor, the second floor, the boys' hostel. The girls had no hostel. We had a training restaurant which was in Nepali. 20 people could sit there. But the finest thing there was, once I told my principal, my role model, he was the best thing that happened to me in my life. Mr. Rafiq, the founding principal of Ahmedabad IHM. He's certainly your alma mater,
Yes.
71 batch, Pusa. So I once told him, I said, sir, isn't it a shame? I'd gone to do my industrial training in Madras, Guantanamo. So I'd seen IHM Madras and I'd also seen IHM Bombay. I said, isn't it an embarrassment? Kaha hamara campus, all grey and all typical government building. And I said, look at IHM Bombay, look at IHM Madras. And then he said something. He says, Neel, remember, institutions are not built by brick and mortar. They're built by committed and dedicated teaching faculty members, a good library, and an alumni. So that is what a good institution is made of, a great institution is made of. I, at that age, the teenager, we used to endearingly call him Chacha because of paternal figure. He knows that. We used to call him,
Ah,
refer to him as Chacha. So he was.
yes.
So he was
He
to
was a he
everybody.
was an institution in his own rights. He was an
He still
institution or
is.
is an institution in his own rights. Mr. Rafiq has been what is called as a pathbreaker, an illuminator, and amongst the greats that helped establish Ahmedabad to being a force to reckon with amongst the bigger ones that existed at that time.
Yes.
Ahmedabad really did step up in several ways as a very well known institution from where good leaders in the hotel and hospitality industry have come from. So it is a credit to Mr.
MC Samir, MC Samir Fortune, MD. Navneet Kumar Malhotra, my course mate. We are the first course. We had no idea about, at least you had some idea about hotel management. We had no, I mean, in the sense, we had no idea what a wine is or a champagne. I mean, we
Correct.
didn't know what a zucchini was. Only Escoffier, we could see the photograph of zucchini. Nowadays, kids eat zucchini every day at home.
Very
We
true.
had no idea what
Au-
pasta is all about.
Yep, hors were something that were foreign. It was like, what were hors d'oeuvres, what were potage, poisson. I can quite imagine for a newly formed institute in the city of Ahmedabad with shared resources, what kind of a constricted situation it must have been trying to get the exposure that only the big cities back then could afford
Yes.
because they had the five-star hotels and the kind of hospitality avenues. Whereas Ahmedabad at that point in time was not set up really to have that kind of facility. Now it's a different story. Now Ahmedabad is, one believes, a
It was
far
a
more.
25,
Yeah.
it was a 25 lakhs population city and only
Yes.
textile mills. So what, I mean, and only theaters, film cinema theaters.
Correct.
And
Correct.
IM was down the road. So we're also, and then Bombay was a big brother. So all that put together added. But then he made up with it. He made it up for it. He made it up like for the sheer presence. And I asked him one day, I said, sir, did you get all those, you got all those South Indian teachers, Tamilian teachers? Thank you. But then knocked the sense out of us. Otherwise, we would not be where we are. He said, I had no choice, Neil. It was a Hobson's choice. So what do you mean? He says, nobody wanted to come to Ahmedabad. They wanted to go to Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, the big college, Hyderabad, Bangalore. They want to go to the big colleges. He says, happened. Fortunate, I was blessed. So Malti ma'am, Mr. Borgia. So they happened. And under his leadership, and we conducted India's first commercial New Year Eve in 1985, 1986. We got a 3 lakh sponsorship from Foursquare in 1985 in Ahmedabad,
Beautiful,
where we had no
beautiful,
FMCG.
beautiful.
And
So,
1 lakh we sold tickets.
yep,
So that was a big thing.
yep.
He gave us the confidence.
So here so it seems like from very humble backgrounds, in an institution which was just a fledgling, you started, but then your personal experiences in your career was as diverse as being the voice at All India Radio. You also
I
have
enjoyed
done
that.
cricket commentary. You've also done webcasting, which you continue to do now in spite of certain challenges that you are, experiencing. And maybe it's appropriate at this time to just let our viewers know, and I'd prefer if you were to share it. There's a limitation that you've been dealing with on a physical front over the last several years. And I'd like
1994 onwards.
1994 onwards. So, if you don't mind, if you could just help people understand from your own words your limitation, but then why your what you're doing becomes even more important and impressive, that in spite of your limitation, you've not allowed it to be a setback. What is that limitation? I'd rather have you talk about it briefly, and then we can talk how AIR commentary, how webcasting, and how being the voice in various other opportunities like cricket commentary, etc., continues to come out of you in spite of that limitation. What's that limitation?
Rajat, when I had the stroke in 1994, we were newly married 1 year. My wife has just conceived the night before. So it was a shock. And now looking back, I mean that that phrase in quotes, what can't kill you can't break you. Then you look back and said, if I could go through all that in life and emerge to be stronger, then there's some God with me who wants me to live. I could have died at the age of 5 when my big aunt, my Periamma, as we say, I'd gone to my hometown and I was pulling the water from the well. So with the force of the water, the bucket, I was going into the well. She caught me by the leg. So I could have died at the age of 5. I could have died in the 1994. So I had to live. So that was the message. Then I realized that life is too short to complain. I could, I hated sympathy. I said, let's get empathy. I know my left hand doesn't work. So I need a coolie at the stereo station to carry me. Like I know that, so I accept it. Acceptance. I like this morning when I was coming back from Kumarakam, Kottayam. I told the coolie, I said, listen, my student was there, my former from Madras when I was teaching at private, he was there. I said, buddy, you got to hold the door. I don't want you to hold me because I want to be independent. I will hold that door and climb up. And I do that. I said, you just hold the door, don't move. When I'm getting down, I don't need help. So I was getting down, I asked the youth, I'm going to get down. Could you just hand me my baggage? So I waited there and then waited for a coolie and I paid him and I came out. I waved an auto and I came home.
So you're not
As simple as
allowing your
that.
physical limitation in any shape or form to interfere with the fact that you are forging ahead in spite of it, in spite of that limitation which could have affected so many others, you continue to forge ahead. Beautiful, beautiful. That takes me to a very important part. What is the meaning of life according to you? Because you've seen life from a different angle. You've seen life at some point as a bunch of challenges that you have to overcome. What is the meaning of life for you?
I have two quotes on this. One is Nehru, of course. I'm a Nehruvian. Life is like playing a game of cards. The hand you're dealt with is determinism. How you play is your free will. And the second one was told to me by my role model teacher, Mrs. Asha, late Mrs. Asha Varma, Ahmedabad. She used to study at Oxford, she was a gold medalist there. She used to teach at IIM Ahmedabad and she used to teach us also English communications. So she had joined these Shakespearean stories and with a nice line. Life is not a midsummer's night's dream, nor is it a tempest, but it is a comedy of errors to be lived as you like it. I
Oh,
think
beautiful,
that is.
beautiful,
She, I think
beautiful.
it was a bit longer. She had, I remember that much. I don't remember like her. She's an English teacher as total, but I remember this much. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed like thought it sounds nice now, Rajat. If somebody had told me in 1995 this, I would have killed that man. At that time, you can accept all those gyan.
I can imagine. So when I come to it, that you were a professor in the institute, but before that you had worked in the industry as well. And after that, what happened with you is that you took on various roles in your life. So can you just walk us through the various roles that you've done from graduation onwards to what you do today in a small snippet of how your progression has been?
Well, serendipity in short. I have gone, well, whatever I have planned has not happened. It's a hand of God that always happens. So like this evening recording, for example, we tried, we had a problem, right? So finally I gave in. I said, God, please take care. It's up to you. It's beyond my control. So I have learned that to let go, boss, it is not in my control. I learned it the hard way. The Bhagavad Gita message. So that helped. But there have been times when I am at night, 10:30. They say faith moves mountains. At night, 10:30 for a 6 o'clock morning train, I got a waiting list of one or two. And I have no chance of getting a reservation. So my Ishta Devata is Krishna. I said, Krishna, it's beyond me. I'm going to have a good night's sleep. But at 4 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, I'll get a SMS saying, your ticket is confirmed. Birth number, coach number, this is birth number. And it has happened many a time over. But whenever I've planned, it has not happened.
So even in your career, you are
Yes,
kind of saying that
yes,
what you were planning for
yes.
was not how it was getting done, but what was getting done was unique in its own way, and you ran with the punches. So you started off with ITC Vadodara, if I'm not mistaken, in Ahmedabad
Pre-launching,
after pre-launch team,
Baroda.
Baroda or Vadodara as it is called now. So from there you came in into the institute. How many years did you spend at the institute?
Four and a
IHS
half.
4.5. Okay.
Now, here's where I wanted to be at the institute for 30 years. I really enjoy classrooms. I mean, when I'm in the classrooms, I don't feel hungry. I don't feel thirsty. Students tell me, sir, breaks. Sir, breaks, sir. Oh. So
Mhm.
I joined corporate also. I could not accept corporate politics.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not meant for it. I'm too
So
naive.
right. So 1994 till 2022 is a long stint. What happened from
It is.
1994 till 2022? What are those areas where Professor Neelakantan, who's very close to many of his students, specifically from the batches that he's personally taught, what did you do that has been your life's journey from 1994 onwards?
I had to quit Pusa because thanks to you guys, I had become too popular. It was upsetting the because I kept my doors open. My doors were like Mr. Rafiq. His doors were always open. So I kept my doors. Whatever he did, I did. I kept my doors open. I was always accessible. And
So you
knowledge.
moved from Pusa, and where did you go to after that?
Mr. Vipin Suri,
Okay.
a management consultant. I
Okay.
was transferred to Bangalore. The late Shankar Nag and his wife Arundhati Nag, who played the role of Amitabh's mother in the film Pa. So
Yes.
Aru's club, country club in Bangalore, we took over that. We were managing it. So
Very good.
once while going home, I had a stroke. I fell off the road. If I'd fallen on this side of the Madras road, old Madras road, I would be sitting here. I fell on this side.
You fell on the left, the side where you could be protected. You were on the left side. Understood. So after working with the Nag family and Mr. Suri, what after that?
Went back to Delhi because that's where the opportunities were. And then I got a break with a lucky break with Orphic Resorts. Sorry, with Shillon Bagh Resort. Mr. Vipin Suri's contact person. So I joined them to do them. Basically, they called it terminal marketing, but I had no idea. I had no clue marketing. But I picked up a bag. I used to go from corporate to corporate selling. But I was very good with my connections in the press club. I mean, I was literally like a member of press club, and with all my cousins and all my friends in the media, I just go and tell them, यार एक story करना है. तो Economic Times middle place Sunday story. ET, I mean Sunday center page story is meeting. Four columns. The
Very good.
Hindustan Times. Chandan Mitra was the editor. Chandan, a request. Yeah, I'll send an editor. I'll send a journalist. You tell him. So that sort of thing.
And
So
then what
that
after
happened.
that?
Then I joined Orphic Resorts as a marketing manager. They were a lucky break. Again, I applied to a source ad and I saw this resident. They wanted a resident manager in Bhimtal, Kosi, Masuri, this, that. So I called them up on impulse. I was jobless at that time. So I said, if you got so many resorts, you'll definitely need a training manager.
Ah,
So HR man, so I spoke to RK. I said, RK Nayyar, if I'm right, but it's Nayyar, I'm sure. He says, why don't you do one thing? Why don't you come over? And I said, see, listen, I'm physically challenged. Once you come there, when I come there, you don't tell me that you are not fit for the job. So just come over with your resume, we'll see. So when I went there, he was waiting for me. He saw my resume and says, you're perfect for marketing manager. I said, I have no clue of marketing. I mean, I'm an operations person. So then he says, no, we'll see that. We'll look at that. So then he said, you'll get a phone call within a week or two for the interview with Mrs. Sadhna Rai, the chairperson of Orchid Resorts. When I went there, I went for the interview. Mr. Akshay Chaturvedi was there, who would play a major role in my life. He changed my outlook to my life after my stroke. General Manager Operations, bearded man with spectacle. DPS Mathura 70. And 71 or 74, he passed out of OSM. It was then OSM. He interviewed me, and I remember that interview. I said, I was sitting there. So he's taking out a notepad and he's writing basic 8,000. And I'm trying hard not to look at it. HRA 6,000 or whatever. But I remember the basic was 8,000. CCA some 4,000. I said, it's coming to, I'm pitching myself below the desk. Is 16,000 rupees a month for me? I'm jobless. I don't know anything of marketing. They said, Neil, is it all right? I tried to control my excitement. I said, yes, sir, this is fine. So I joined them. So later in life, when I met Akshay, Mr. Chaturvedi at a residence, and I told him, he's a very dear friend. One day in office, he told me, maybe I was moaning, I was complaining that, I was giving an excuse of, my this doesn't work, this doesn't work. So I couldn't do this properly. So he looks at me in the eye, puts his specs up, and does that, and I know that's a red flag coming. He says, my this doesn't work, my this doesn't work, but my this works better than other. So use it, damn it. And the expletives that a hotelier, Delhi hotelier can give would make a stagecoach driver blush. We wouldn't discuss it here. You and I know it.
he actually literally kicked you out of your slumber and from any other
Absolutely.
kind of a reliance on the fact that you could leverage your in your mind you thought you could leverage your dysfunction, if I may use that word, to some advantage, but he said there is no using that as a crutch. You got a brain that works and you can go ahead and
Better than
utilize it
others.
better than others.
He was like a commando course trainer. No
Beautiful,
mercy.
beautiful, beautiful. And I've seen that
And
since probably that occasion, you have continued to invest in training, coaching. You've also helped out getting students in Burma, who did not have the infrastructure like in India for hospitality. You got them into understanding how they could learn from online classes. So who are you doing your online courses with then, if I may understand?
now,
Yes.
now I'm planning to launch my own edutech platform, courtesy, as I refer to all of you as my God sent angels. Siddharth Mahajan, 1993 batch. He's done artificial intelligence. He's gone to America and he says, so he comes back. So there they call their procs by first name, as you would
Yeah.
know. So he
Correct.
says, he calls me, Neil, you are going to sustain by yourself. I said, yes. How? I am going to set up an edutech for you. You make the contents. The American model. So I know that model because I've been an AHMA certified instructor. The module, the
Yes, module
quiz,
based training.
you
Yep.
know that, yeah.
Yes.
So I said, so he said, start doing it. He says, I will invest in the learning platform. I'll invest in the Zoom business account, etc., etc. So what I planned has never happened in my life. I never ever planned in my life in Delhi that I would get married the formal tam ram way in Guruvayur, Kerala, of all the thing places. I said Delhi में किसी मंदिर में जाके I was a very simple, I was still a simple person, दाल रोटी person. मंदिर जाओ एक मंगलसूत्र बांध दो खत्म. Why do you have to be ostentatious and लोग तो कुछ what is that Amar Prem song कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे. So if you do or don't, it's
So Siddharth Mahajan is helping you set up a platform where you can continue with the modular training approach that you have been working on for several years now, and that's going to be a more formal education-oriented edutech
my
kind of
passion,
a venture. Beautiful,
my
beautiful.
passion.
But you see, I know you're a movie buff and you're a song buff, so you love Bollywood songs as well, and you relate to it in your day-to-day life very closely. How does it inspire you, and what does it kind of do to you? Because I've seen you actually use a couple of snippets around Bollywood. You talked about Anuradha Nag, and you've talked about Amitabh Bachchan in a movie, and you've talked about a song right now. How is movies playing such an important role, and how does it inspire you, and what inspires you from them?
Songs inspire me. That too, the pre-60s. That was the days of Sahil Ludhianvi, whom I consider to be the greatest lyricist. I mean, as a lyricist, you can write. औरत ने जन्म दिया मर्दों को, मर्दों ने उन्हें बाजार दिया. That man has to have some caliber. And तू हिंदू बनेगा ना मुसलमान बनेगा, इंसान की औलाद है इंसान बनेगा. So all those songs move me. And
Beautiful.
a voice like S.D. Burman. I have been singing this song for the last 3 days. I don't know which movie it is. I don't know which. Because his voice is a very pithy voice. That you can smell the earth in his voice.
Oh, very true.
कहाँ ये कहाँ ये हिमालय कहाँ ऐसा पानी. That's all I know this whole song.
Oh, I know this song very well from SD Burman, and it's not coming to the
Is
tip
it
of
Prem
my tongue
Pujari?
right now. I think it's Prem
Is it Prem
Pujari.
Pujari?
It is from Prem Pujari, is what I think it is. But he's a very earthy singer, as you rightly said. If you look at him, even in Guide, some of his songs, "Wahan kaun hai tera musafir, jayega kahan."
And yes, and that is so well sung.
It's so
That
beautifully
emotion,
sung
that
by him.
voice.
That emotion,
And
and
the Bengali Hindi, that adds to
yes,
the
beautiful,
pithiness.
beautiful. So, what characters? It seems S.D. Burman has had a major inspiration or impact on you. Sahir Ludhianvi has had a major, impact on you. Are there any other actors and from some either books or movies or protagonists from movies or books that have inspired and kind of given you a reason to carry on, as they say, and to keep forging ahead?
So they asked me, I said, teachers, goodbye, Mr. Chips, and to serve with love, of course. And
Sidney
then I
Poitier,
said, yeah, and Peter O'Toole there. Then
Peter
I said,
O'Toole.
there is a non-fictional character who's not a teacher, but he's my greatest inspiration. So who? I said, Satyakam. Dharmendra as Satyakam. So
Satyakam.
they said, Mrs. Swaroop, why Satyakam? I said, because your teacher is not honest. How would a teacher will he be?
Beautiful.
Say, have you seen Satyakam? I have. I can see it again and again and again. And
So
when I met Dharmendra,
The character of Dharmendra and Satyakam, aligned very well with your own personal life, story as a teacher.
yeah,
Wow,
because
wow.
I still believe that it's not a fool who wrote that line, that not the line, the thought, Satyameva Jayate. Truth always wins. You have to be a truthful person, honest person to yourself.
So, if I could, move to another thing very clearly, tell us something about your day-to-day life and what are you doing these days? What exactly is keeping you busy these days?
My contents for my edutech, morning to evening. And in this is another student is helping me out. Your 1994 class. His name is Rahul Preferred Saluja. He is a former IBM trainer based in Pune. He was our college wicketkeeper. and batsman. So he's helps me out with the technology part of it, and I do the contents
So that takes me to the fact
because
that you also love writing. You've also authored a book, or that I'm aware of. It's in my bookshelf right behind me. Um, but is writing continuing to be a passion? Are you continuing to write furthermore? Is that something that one expects another book to come out? Talk about your first book and the next ones that you're working on.
I have the first one was at gunpoint. I was compelled by my first class of my first the first class I was assigned to 1 year junior class of '92. So I'd go to Delhi, and I always when I go to Delhi I meet Manoj Khurana. You know Manoj Khurana very well.
Mm,
So I tell him, I say, I was all telling him, Manoj, do you remember this thing that happened and that thing that happened? So one day he said, आपको सब कुछ याद है, हम तो भूल गए हैं. तो आप एक किताब लिखो. I said, who will read it here? So if nobody, as he said, then I said, who will publish it? So कोई अगर publish नहीं करेगा, I will spend money. I said, are you crazy? You would spend your hard-earned money for this book? He says, no, you write a book. So I dismissed him. I go back home to Palakkad and I get a call from a foreign number. You see the code and you get to know. Sir, now nowadays, like Sonia Chaudhary told me, sir, 3 years we listen to you without any questions. So you sit down and now you listen to us. So that tone, that farman, that Ramneet Bhandari was in that.
mm.
Sir, you met Manoj? I said, yes. Manoj asked you to write a book? I said, yes. So start. I said, no, Ramneet, have a heart. Don't waste your money, your hard-earned money.
So what
Sir,
is that book? Can just, if you can talk about the book that had been published? I have a copy with me, but if you want to talk about what is that book about and what is the name of that book? I know it's
love,
called
love, affection, and respect. A teacher's ode to his students. And the
beautiful.
Deccan Chronicle review said that probably so the first book that memoirs or a teacher wrote on the students. Normally it's the other
Yes,
way around.
it's usually the other way around. Exactly. It has mentions of everybody, including myself, in it in a small part there. I know you were a little
The Mardika,
you were a little less, complimentary in terms of the amount that you captured about me, because your heart was in the 1992, as I can believe. But it is a beautiful write up. Is there more coming out? Is there something else that people can expect in the coming days?
I have written 4 short stories on Ahmedabad based. And that, like Jeffrey Archer, it's got a twist in the tail, but it's got a very nice twist. So I've written
Okay,
about 4 of them.
short
So I
stories.
get time, I'll start short story. Short story better, seriously. And I'm
Okay,
co-authoring or assisting. I won't tell the name now.
okay, good. So you want to keep it
One
as a
of
under
yeah.
wraps till it
I
is
mean,
ready to be released.
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes. He's a legend in the among the cricket writers,
beautiful. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear.
and it's my good fortune that I'm associated with him.
Let me now get to a very important question to other people facing difficulties and challenges, maybe such as yours. Maybe it's a stroke, challenge, or other challenges or limitations that others face. There are many stories of people who have battled it. You're one of them. What advice do you have for people battling any kind of roadblocks or challenges, whether physical, whether emotional, whether a combination of both, or financial? How do you guide them in order to face life?
Follow your heart. Don't follow your brain. Don't analyze. You analyze over too much. Follow your heart. It'll never lead you wrong. You might be cheated, but for how long? The world is round. Good times will come to you. But you have to keep persevering and persisting. I take a analogy of the cricket match, cricket ground. Like a bowler, I mean, you can keep bowling, get an edge, Napa says, and appeal, not out. I mean, that edge could be heard in another country. So not out. You go pick up the ball, you go back to your bowling mark. Once again, try your best. You've got him plumb, and he says not out. You just cannot do anything. Pick up the ball, go back to your run up. You have to keep bowling line, length, line, length, line, length, till you get a wicket, and you will get a wicket. But you can't
Beautiful,
give up.
beautiful,
You
beautiful.
can never give up in life.
That's a very, very important. So what you're saying is keep at it, keep plugging away, keep on your task. Again, it goes back to a basic tenet of Bhagavad Gita, I suppose, which is all you can do is to do your karma and do it consistently, constantly, and effectively. You don't know what the outcome will be, whether you get that catch, whether you get that LBW or not. All you can do is to keep bowling straight on the right line and length or with a plan in mind. What the outcome is, you don't know because there are many other factors. So, what you're essentially saying is, in a way, there is a Bhagavad Gita philosophy coming behind all of this, that all you can do is to do your job, to do your karma, do it well, continue at it, keep plugging away. The outcome will manifest itself positively, as it usually happens. It's a cycle, and that cycle will bring you to success. Very, very important, lesson for not only people with limitations and challenges. I think for all of us, it's for all of us. We all have some limitations and things that hold us back. Neelu sir, as you know, in many cases we feel our lives come to a point where things aren't moving the way they are supposed to move. It's a
Stay,
it's
stay,
a
stay
whole
there.
stay there.
As they said to the
Stay.
batsmen, stay there. The runs will come on their own, but stay there. The
Beautiful.
runs will come on their own.
Beautiful, sir. Towards the end of this, I want to end on a high note. You have been inspired by music and songs, and you did sing a line or two from one of the songs that you were inspired by. But I know there are many more that you have. I know "Ek Din Bit Jayega Mati Ke Mol" has been a inspiration for you, and there's another Kishore Kumar song. Would you like to help me at least relive those old moments with maybe a couple of
I
lines from
can't.
your
I
side?
I croak now. I don't sing anymore like a pusa.
It doesn't matter. What matters is the emotion. What matters is the thought. So I'd really it'll be a wonderful thing to have you relive
Provided you
those
join
memories.
me.
I will do my best.
पंथी हूँ मैं उस पथ का अंत नहीं जिसका आश मेरी है जिसकी दिशा आधार मेरे मन का पंथी हूँ मैं उस पथ का जिस पथ पे देखे दुख सुख के मेले. I don't know much.
Thank you. No, this is it's a song with a lot of deep meaning behind it. Professor Neelakantan, Neelu sir, it's been a pleasure, welcoming you on the show, talking to you. The most important thing
Thank you.
is this is a true grit story because, as you have said, things didn't ever happen the way you thought they would or you had planned they would. In your life, as you have said, everything was different than what you were thinking of. Yet you did not allow them to ever hold you back.
But looking back, Rajat, if like I told you that comparison and competition. Now today in the family, the Tambram family, I am the only teacher, and I mean with great. It's very humbling for me. Two of my students have named their son Neel in my honor, and I'm shocked. I don't know what I've done. I'm the only author. So the black sheep has turned out to be a dark horse. So I go back to so I go back to the Bible. Judge not, for ye be judged. I studied in a Catholic school, St. Xavier's High School, the Jesuit school,
you and
whole
I
of
are
Ahmedabad.
you and I are alma maters there as well because I was from Xavier's Calcutta. So St. Xavier's Calcutta, so we have that connection as well. So as I say, as I end the show, thank you so much. This is To Serve with Love.
Oh, thank you so much.
You played a very unique role in some of our careers and my close friends' careers in a way that we could bounce ideas off you. You may have not formally
Happy.
taught us. You may have not formally taught us in a class, but we had a lot of conversation, a lot of understanding of the bigger picture of life. You were a sounding board. You were there to listen to us. You were there to, empathize with us, give us the right kind of attitude as 21-year-olds stepping out into the world. You helped us. So again, I don't know what Sidney Poitier's journey To Serve with Love was, but this is my little thank you moment to say to you, sir, with love. I'd like to sign
Thank you
off
so
today
much.
with the fact that it was a pleasure talking to you today, and I wish you all the very best with your endeavors on the edutech front and many more successful activities that you're going to be doing. Stay healthy, stay well, and folks, good night, Shabak Khair. We'll catch up again on another True Grit show in short order. Thank you very much.